have something really good, a hot topic in the news, but he's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. This is a show where I try to educate you about the criminal justice system through true crime stories of people who have been through the pits of hell and come out of it on the other side with redemption. I also talk about all community events that affect the criminal justice system. Tonight I have my old faithful co-host, Damian Walker, who we've not seen much of in 2023, but he's back January 3rd, 2024 to start our new season off together. And he has tonight a man he keeps referring to off air as Coach, Henry Sims.
Yes, ma'am.
Henry, welcome to our program tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I know you have to cut out early, so I want, Damian, you to tell us why you thought Mr. Henry Sims would be a good guest tonight to talk about criminal justice system.
First of all, Happy New Year, Vivian.
Happy New Year, thank you.
Happy New Year, Truth and Justice. Happy New Year, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach is an amazing man in the community. He trains youth in Sunnyside at Provision Academy, the Provision Academy. And so when I resigned, I went to Coach and was going in to tell Coach, hey, Coach, I resigned. I left with a conference, a dance for the girls, and also being able to coordinate some other events. So Coach has a vision to be able to affect the kids in the community that he works in very, very positively. And so starting that, we actually have a conference, Martin Luther King Day Conference, January 15th, 2024 at Provision Academy. And Coach gave the charge, and we just jumped on it. And I'll let Coach talk about his vision as well, but he's just somebody in the community that really, really believes in empowering tomorrow's leaders, and that means that the people that you're actually working with right now, so the kids that he's working with at Provision Academy.
Okay, so Coach, tell us about your program and what you do currently and what's your vision?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Certainly.
And we're looking forward to a partnership with Cognitive Justice. We do it at Provision Academy. It's an academy school, charter school, independent charter school in the Sunnyside area. We've been in existence since 1990. Our founder, Ronell Young, had a vision, and mainly based on character development. And one of our goals is to inspire hope and purpose through academic, economical, and social opportunities so our young African Americans, non-African Americans have an opportunity to be successful. We reside in the Sunnyside area. We have 21 acres of land where we're not only doing academics, but we're doing farming as well. We're doing character development, which is huge in that with that population. Education is a tool that we use to make sure that our students be successful, not only through education, but through trade and through hard work and providing those life skills to help those kids be successful throughout their endeavors. So that's
1990 is a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
So that's what, 33 years?
Yes, 33 years, and he's been working hard to promote his vision to have a healthier Sunnyside. Healthier Sunnyside promotes a healthier Houston.
Okay, cool. So what grade levels are?
The academy is 6 through 12, 6 through 12th grade.
And how do you recruit your students?
We currently recruit students through our partners within the community with our neighboring schools, Addicts, Worthing, those Sterling, the two neighboring high schools that are in our area. But we're an open charter school, so we do referrals, we do just recruitment. This depends on your situation.
How many students do you have?
Currently, we reside closer to that 400 mark.
Is that total?
400 total, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Even mixture of middle school and high school students. We have two campuses, one of our middle school and the high school that are right next to each other, and they're separated. We primarily was a single gender school, and just until recently we added our females, which has been a plus. On Sundays.
You said on some days?
On some days, yes, because we move as the females move. But it's been a pleasure, and we're looking forward to great things with our students.
When did you start adding female students?
Right. We're at, I think, our 6th year. We're at our 6th year now with females on our campus. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Damien, tell me how you're a grown man. I know you got in trouble as a juvenile, so that's very sensitive and a passion for you.
Yes.
But you're way past that now.
Yes, I
You're
am.
a way grown man. So tell me why you're concerned or intersecting with this juvenile population.
Just the opportunity to see the area, or we know what Sunnyside, how people see it, and just not always saying at-risk kids, but kids that are staying in those underserved areas. We know that they don't always have full opportunities to move out of those areas without being affected by the justice system. So not only do I think that I can impart my experiences and knowledge, but one thing I wanted to do, and when Coach and I had the conversation, was being able to teach the community violence intervention methods at Provision. So to do a school-based program, to be able to build what Coach calls tomorrow's leaders, to have them understand that there are alternatives to violence, but alternatives to gun violence. And so far, we've had some classes, and we went in to be able to see the interests of those kids in that particular area, because we know that they are affected. One of our students, her cousin was the 12-year-old kid, Fred, that got killed out there by the 18-year-old. So when we heard that, it just kind of confirmed that, hey, this is the place that we're supposed to be right now. So Coach has allowed us to come in and be able to just impart, again, our knowledge, but our passion and our purpose to help the kids understand that we know that you are in this area, and we know what people say about this area, but that's not you. Look at who came from this area, and we expect you to be one of the success stories coming out of this area as well.
One of the things that always troubles me about neighborhoods, say like Sunnyside, is why do the children have to come out of it? Why can't they just make it better? Why is it that we're in a neighborhood, like a low-income neighborhood or a violent neighborhood? I know let me just say this. When I was a criminal defense attorney, I used to represent a lot of people in the 5th Ward or the North Side area, I guess. And a lot of times what I encouraged a lot of them to do, especially in the 90s and 2000s, you couldn't buy a house because you were in the ex-con. A lot of things were just at the height of being hard on ex-cons. Things are getting easier now because more people are trying to help returning citizens, but they weren't doing that then. They weren't even using that term,
yes.
Returning citizens. They weren't saying the formerly incarcerated. All they were saying is, you got an ex, you can't do this. You got an ex, you can't do this. You got an ex. So what I used to always get my clients to do is go back to that neighborhood, go by Miss Sally's house down the street that died, that you were raised down the street, the house is empty, the crackhead kids got it, buy the house, and then you can probably buy it for $30,000, and then you can put, new floors in, new electrical, new carpet. It'll be bigger than an apartment, and it'll be yours, and you can control it. And believe it or not, quite a few of my clients did that. They went back, instead of trying to live in the Galleria area, trying to live above their means, which sometimes makes you go back to a life of crime.
Yeah.
They did regular, they got regular jobs, but was able to work with their little horses. Is that part of the North Side where they got horses and stuff over there?
That's South Side. We had Sunnyside, we have horses as well.
But I'm talking about on the north. My clients are on the North Side by the horses, where they have the little horses and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm from San Antonio, so
Okay.
I came here to go to college in 1976.
Okay.
I was only 17.
Okay.
But if you don't go to high school somewhere, you don't really understand the lay of the land. You know what I mean? I came here. I was still a teenager, but I didn't go to high school. But I know how to get there over there, and I know that I just said, do your hobbies, be in your community. Don't worry about trying to jump out of your community. And sometimes you can make because you're gonna want your house to be safe. You're gonna want especially when they start getting in their 30s and they're trying to get grown. And I encourage, and a lot of them did it. And I think sometimes you have to get out to come back to and make it better. You know what I mean? You have to go get some education. see how other people live, be exposed to different experiences, but then you need to come back and make your neighborhood the best it can be. You know, houses, have an old house and or renovate it or tear it down and build another one. So I'm real into that.
That's one thing that we did express to them too. We always tell them that, hey, you know, we want to make sure that, because the goal of teaching the CVI is to help them to diffuse incidents at the school.
All right, and try not to use acronyms while you're on here.
Okay,
Use the real
okay.
words because
Community-
people don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, community violence and
You know,
intervention.
you know, us returning citizens. As soon as we get cool enough to get in these groups, we start using all these big terms, and nobody knows what you're talking about. Come on, come on.
So the community violence intervention methods, the alternatives.
Okay,
to
well,
violence,
give us some
alternatives
methods.
to
What
gun
is
violence.
that? I keep hearing about violence interruption. What is violence interruption? How you gonna stop somebody from wanting to beat somebody's butt or shoot somebody? How you gonna stop that?
So basically, they already have the relationship with individuals at their school, so they are students. So we're going to stick around it's the school-based one. So because they have relationships with the individuals at the school, sometimes they know about the beefs that are going on. Sometimes they know about the incident that may be brewing. And what Coach has done, he's provided us the most influential kids. So we don't want to call them high risk, the most influential kids at the school. And because they are influential and they have access to all the different groups, they will actually know about situations that are happening. So because they know about situations that are happening, we can actually go to them and say, okay, this is a method. So a method one of going into a situation that people having beef at is saying that, hey, look, if you do this, you're gonna get kicked out of school. Look at how hard you work. We're just giving a scenario. Look at how hard you work. You're gonna get kicked out of school. I know your mother. Your mother's a good working person. So let's make sure that we can come along and say, bring you to this other individual and say, hey, you've been doing better. And let's bring you guys together to say, look, the beef, let's stop it. Let's go back and see what we can do to come up with a solution for what's going on. So the basic parts is coming up with solutions, and the solutions aren't always the best solutions what people from the outside can see, but these are solutions for them in that particular time. And then one thing that we also do encourage is that let's build the relationship. Let's do a civic engagement. Let's go out so we can build that camaraderie with each other.
All right, let's say we have John and Jack. They don't like each other because of some girl, and they both got
That happened, Coach, right?
They got groups over here and groups over there, and somebody's egging them on, and somebody in this group liked that girl, but James got it in this group. How are you going to stop that hormonal shift that's going on? Now they got girls at the school, so now they're going to be fighting over the girls, and the girls going to be fighting over the boys, because, you know, it's equal opportunity now. How do we stop that animalistic part of our hormonal nature to make them want to bring a gun and shoot them?
Two things. One word you spoke about is exposure. He talked about relationships. Relationships are huge at Provision Academy. Relationships are huge in that Sunnyside area. So having the adults having the relationships with these young individuals, not only the individuals but their parents, knowing their background, knowing where they came from, knowing their situation is huge. Exposure. Exposing these young adults to the outside world, things that exist outside of the Sunnyside area. Exposing them to law enforcement. Expose them to what happens if this takes place with your family members. A lot of our students' parents are incarcerated. So giving them the background and just the knowledge and the tools that's needed so they don't go down that wrong path. Yes, we do have conflict, but conflict resolution is also important as well.
So to go to your school, do y'all check them for guns when they come in during the day, or do y'all have metal detectors?
We do a search. But it's not an extensive search because
It's not a daily search?
It is a data search. Once you come in, we check your backpack. We do the HIT. We do the make sure you have the clear backpacks.
Oh, they have to have clear
we do the wad down to make sure that everybody's safe and secure. Safety and security is huge in the Sunnyside area. But once again, it goes back to those relationships. We know who comes in late, when they come in late, why they may come in late, what the situation may be. If we seen on Instagram or on the social media where two sides are having conflict, we have relationships and people that are in the community and our students say, hey, this is something that we may need, catch our attention, keep your eye on this here. So it's all about relationships and that word that you use, the exposure.
Okay. All right. Remember there was a time where people used to put boxing gloves on them and let them go box it out? Is that out of style because we can't fight at all, or what?
Talk about that.
I think our other tools we're using, we're kind of more advanced.
I'm not saying we're supposed to do violence, but, you know, people are innately violent.
Well-
but I do believe the thing I used to like about just regular old fights, although I never wanted to have a fight, and I don't like fights, but if people did get into a skirmish, usually natural dispute resolution took place. You know, a month from then they would like, okay, well we got to, you know, you forget, kids forget what they're mad about, you know,
Right.
and so you kind of get over it, and then before you know it, they're best friends again. I don't know why that natural thing used to happen back in the day. I know people do stuff so violent now that maybe it's unforgivable. I don't know.
It still happens. I think the method we use now is a little bit different. Us sitting down, he's from one side, I'm from the other side. Us being able to sit down and talk and having a mediator in the middle to kind of diffuse the situation helps out a lot.
But I will also say too, so sometimes what you said about boxing, it's unorthodox to somebody that's from outside of that particular culture. So we don't encourage that, but we know that sometimes those things happen. And if it happens, we just have to be mindful also to monitor it as well. Because if we're saying that you guys go fight, because that's what they're thinking, because they also ramped up at that time, and you don't want them to get outside of your reach. And I'm not going to promote it. Coach is not going to promote it.
Right.
But sometimes those things happen, and that's where it comes back to the relationships with individuals in the community. That's why it's important for us not to just work with the kids, but we work with the families in the community as well. And being able to impart our knowledge, and then when they go out, and if they come back and they say, hey, man, they had a fight and everything's good, we'll acknowledge that as, okay, but we're still going to watch it. But that's unorthodox to sometimes people that are not from those communities.
So, do y'all talk to them about getting guns? Because it's very disturbing to me. There are a lot of incidents right now. Let me tell you what's trending now that's different from 15 years ago. Y'all know about this because you deal with it. Kids are killing each other over marijuana. That never used to happen. It used to be over serious drugs like cocaine, crack, you know, kilos, things like that. It wouldn't be over $200 worth of marijuana. Young people are buying from him, and then, you know, since whoever got the money, they ripping each other off and killing each other behind marijuana. That used to be unheard of 20 years ago. That's real surprising to us older people in the criminal justice system. That and the fact that any fight, any skirmish in a club, at school, leads to somebody going and getting a gun. I mean, that never used to be the case, that somebody wouldn't just, you know, fight it out. And I'm not saying they should fight. I'm not for violence at all. I'm anti-violent. But to be so you know, usually what I'm trying to say is it would be an impulse, an impulse emotion. So that might lead to a fight, and then people break them up, and there's no fight, and it's over with. But to actually go somewhere and to get a gun and to bring it back and to shoot up that person or other people is kind of a new phenomenon. Don't you think?
And we kind of addressing those things
How do you
at
deal
our
with
conference.
that? Like, tell them, you know, people end up dead. Families, you know, show them, like, you know, it's, and in my studies, and this is a much older group, but in my 31 years as criminal defense, I just noticed that younger people, younger offenders have more of that F it moment, like F it. You know, I don't care what happens, you know, and they'll just go crazy. They'll shoot up people, they'll rob people, they'll just do all kind of crazy stuff. Don't care about the consequences at all. But it seems like once they get to be about 30, if they stay in, say if they get a life sentence or just get 10 years or 20 years and they go to jail at 18 or 19 or 20 and get out at 30, somebody that's important to them has died. It doesn't seem like it's real important as a teenager for some reason, but it's like by 30, I've just noticed all my clients or former clients, once they get to be about 30, they're not as reckless, they're not as dangerous. It's just like, I don't know what happens. I don't know if something happens chemically inside men or people.
Let me do a precursor, Coach, because Coach is about to talk about the conference. One of the things that we've seen is that the way that social media does is that it continues to egg people on. So that's a word that we use, egg people on,
It
right?
does do that,
So
yeah.
it continues because there may be a fight, there may be a situation where somebody stopped it, but people on the outside feel like they have a voice. And if you're 15 to 22 and people are still talking about you, you have to get your reputation back some sort of way, but they overdo it. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about, because that is the emotional piece. So that's something that
That's a
coaches
big thing. Yeah, I could see that. I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah, it's serious, and it makes them feel like less of a man, less of a woman too. So Coach, I want to turn it back over to Coach, because Coach is going to talk about that piece of the conference.
You talk about just the emotional piece. We deal with social and emotional learning as well at the school, and that's kind of helped diffuse a lot of situations. It's on the record that Sunnyside is one of the highest rated, crime rated areas, and gun violence is a huge issue in the Sunnyside area. And that's some of the things that we want to address, not only with our youth, but with our parents and with our community leaders as well, just so we can kind of get a hold on it. It's not a proud thing for us to be leading the city in homicides and just vigilant and violent crimes. So we want to do something kind of curtail those things, and it starts with our youth, because like you say, it starts with that age group from 15 to like that 21, 25 years old, that they're just going out and being reckless, and guns are accessible to our youth at a high rate, and we want to kind of do things to kind of curtail those things.
Well, I guess what we were describing also is another way of putting it is emotional bullying on social media.
Yes.
I noticed that with my daughter, who's 29 now, but I noticed when she was in high school, she was real depressed because some little boy, I think she was like in the 9th grade, that she'd always known, they started getting cute. And then, because she'd known him since a little, and she said she was really upset and, doing some things she shouldn't have been doing. I don't want to talk about it on TV and she hear me. But anyway, doing some things, smoking weed, doing some things she shouldn't have been doing. She got caught by the housekeeper or whatever. And she said, it silences the voices in my head. I'm like, where are the voices coming from? Because she's on that social media.
Yeah.
And all the girls are bullying her about this boy that everybody likes. I'm like, that's something that I would have never even dealt with. Because, I'm old, so in my day, somebody had to actually call you up on a landline, and you had to stand up and hold the phone to talk to somebody. And it's just, you were just living your life, playing or doing whatever you had to do in very little telephone time. So I forget that she's of that era where they were all DMing me and all that kind of stuff. Like, even though I have Facebook, I don't have that messenger on my phone.
You don't let them message you?
I was on a reality show.
Okay.
So I had like thousands of people messaging me from all over the country.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with that. It was about to drive me crazy. So it's on my desktop. And every now and then I'll check to see if friends have told me something, but it's definitely not on my phone.
Okay.
Oh, no. Because I was getting too much random stuff. So I didn't understand social media. And when you're on a reality show, it's a part of your contract. Right. So you have to, so those people at WeTV set up the Instagram and, what's that other one?
Facebook.
Twitter.
Yeah.
And Facebook, I already had Facebook, but they set it up and they wanted it's part of what you have to do. But it's too much because they want you to, I didn't understand TV. They want you to interact, and I didn't understand that because I'd never seen a reality show. I was just in one, but I'd never seen one. So no, it's too much. It's too much information. I can't handle it.
But that's what the kids are doing.
They're overstimulated,
they
really.
It too, the way that they process it, but it's like they are immature and they have the opportunity, because really the kids have to be able to understand the technology.
Right.
And the way that the technology works and moves, because this is going to be a part of their careers. I struggle with this with my daughter. She has to understand this.
How old is she?
She's 9. But
She already has a cell phone?
Oh, yeah. I had to buy a cell phone. You know the story, like my ex-wife and all the other stuff. I had to get her one to talk to her.
I forgot.
But she has to get it, because I've seen other kids that are 9, 10 that are advanced to where you think they're almost seniors in college, but it's the way that they learn. My daughter has learned sign language. She's learning sign language by herself for probably the last year off of social media. So the bad thing is she'll get caught up in watching TikToks, but the good thing is she'll set the phone up and start doing sign language. I'm like, well, baby, tell me what that means, because I don't know sign language.
Is she doing it to another person, or is she doing it to the computer?
She's just watching it, because technology, in our era, the streets raised us too. And I'm talking about the negative streets, but outside raised us.
Right.
And so the same thing is happening at Provision and other schools of underserved communities. Outside is still raising kids, because this is the community. The community is going to have an effect on who you become. You're from Fifth Ward, you're from Sunnyside, you're from East Terrace, you're from these particular areas. But how do we make sure that all the negative stuff and all the emotional stuff is not really developing them, so when they do go to college or they do graduate, that they don't want to come back? Because like you said earlier, there's some people that don't want to come back. We actually want them. That's why we're calling it Tomorrow's Leaders. We actually want them to be positive individuals now inside of the school, but they are already individuals inside the community. 16, 17, 18, they outside.
Yeah. And one of the things we talk about, just not the young generation learning about the social media. We as adults, in order for us to keep up, our staff members has to be on top of the social media. They have to keep everybody up to date just on just the language, the verbiage that are used in certain social media pieces. That's important. Even with your daughter, you got to ask her, what is, they're not even typing the whole word anymore. What does that mean? What does that mean? So just educating the youth, educating the adults on just how social media and technology works as well is huge.
Okay, well, tell us about the conference, because I know you have to go.
The conference, looking forward to it. Been wanting to do a conference for quite some time.
So what's the format?
What's the format? We're going to come in, and where do we go from here? Community or chaos? It's a book narrated by Martin Luther King. It's kind of where we got the premise from to move forward with it on Martin Luther King Day. We have 2 guest speakers that'll be there to speak, and we also have 3 breakout rooms. And those 3 breakout rooms are basically those 3 based on those 3 topics that we just talked about: social media, where do we go from now, where do we go from here, and just different things, the gun violence and things that we can kind of control within our community. So all those things, those topics that we discussed here, are some of the things that we're going to discuss during the conference. It starts at 9 o'clock. Ends at 2. Breakfast and lunch will be served. Looking forward to an exciting time, and hopefully we can give the community tools that are needed to help us be a better, not just Sunnyside, not a better Provision, but a better Houston, Texas.
And where is this located?
It's on our campus at Provision Academy, 4590 Wilmington, located right off the Cullen. Cullen and Reed are your neighboring streets. So we're looking forward to having people come out, be a
What's
part
the
of
date?
it. January 15th.
What day of the week is that?
That is a Monday.
Monday.
We're celebrating Martin Luther King
Oh, so it's
Day.
actually on Martin Luther
Yes,
King
yes.
Day. Because the kids are out of school.
Kids are out of school.
So
yes.
who's invited to this conference?
Everyone's invited. We also look not only community leaders.
But children are invited, or adults?
We're
or
looking for it's a family-oriented event. If you have in your organization, sororities, fraternities, that may have students that are engaged and just looking to kind of be mentors and just tools that's needed to help with your mentorship program, you're invited to come.
Okay.
We're also doing free
what is-
headshots as well.
What's free what?
Free headshots for the community.
Now, what's that mean?
Headshots, so they're professional pictures, and then if they're not prepared that day to actually get the headshot that day, they'll get a ticket to be able to redeem later.
And that's just because people like taking pictures of themselves?
Yeah, we want to get professional pictures. No, it helps with the confidence.
Okay. Okay. I was just wondering. All right. So what's your capacity?
There is no capacity. Those are willing to learn, get better.
But I'm just saying for this conference, I mean, like, do you have, 200 can come? in? I mean, how many-
We're looking to maximize at 250 people, but we can make room for others. We can accommodate the
Okay.
need.
All right. So you say that you feeding them?
We're providing breakfast and lunch once you register.
So what is it like? So they register online?
Yes,
or
you
how
can register online.
And how do you register online?
What's the registration?
They can go to Cognitive Justice, INTL.org, and hit the events page, and registration will be right there. They can also go on Eventbrite for the Community of Chaos Conference at Provision Academy. So we're on Eventbrite, and they can register there as well. The link on the Cognitive Justice page will just take them to the Eventbrite, but they have an Eventbrite page, and also they can go to the website and register as well.
So how are y'all telling people about this?
Marketing, the Truth and Justice show.
Of course.
But basically marketing, we're getting out to the community. A lot of our partners are sharing. We've been talking, how long we been planning? About a month now?
Yeah, about a month now.
Yeah, we've been planning
That's
for a
pretty
month, so
fast.
we've been, it's fast. But it's actually, we probably have confirmed around 100 people. And then a lot more hearing about it. So we have a lot of people that'll be coming. So tomorrow we actually have a pre-conference workshop. They can go to my page, Damian Walker, on Facebook, and they can see the information about the pre-conference workshop. Or go to Coach Sims' page, and they'll be able to see it. The pre-conference workshop, which you'll be on actually, it's just going to be a precursor to what we'll be talking about at the conference with some of our community leaders and some of the people that actually participate in the conference well. We want people to understand that they have a voice. People are operating in shadows because violence takes a lot away from people, and you have to heal a lot when violence occurs. And it's not just you healing, it's the community healing. The courts will have to go through a lot, the hospitals have to go through a lot. So we just want to make sure that people know that they're supported. That's a big thing. And support means, what do you need? Not what we can provide you. Because I can't provide everything. Coach can't provide, and you, as well as you know, at the DA's office, you guys can't provide everything. So what can community provide for you to go through your healing process, but also be able to make positive change as we go throughout this process.
And you said you have 2 speakers. Who are the speakers, or the topics? If you, I don't, who are the speakers? Do you have are they confirmed? Your speakers?
Yes.
confirmed?
So one is Tamika Perkins. She's works at Annie Casey Foundation. Out of Baltimore. So she was gracious enough. She was going to be in the area. She's a young African-American professional woman who's been doing the work a long time in her area up in Baltimore.
And what's her area now? What does she do?
She's a funder for the community violence intervention up in that region. So she was going to be down here, and she actually asked could she be a part of it. I was like, man, great, because she understands the work on a high level, but she comes from the community. Then we have Mr. Roynell Young.
Mr. Roynell Young, he's a former NFL player, played with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's a visionary. He's the founder of Provision. So I would only think it'd be fair for him to come in and speak on this vision of what he has. And originally from New Orleans, been in the Sunnyside area and doing work in the Sunnyside area, and he will give us tools that's needed for the call of action, just to make sure we have our marching orders.
So does he live here or in New Orleans?
Yeah, he lives here in Houston. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. How do you spell his first name?
Roynell, R-O-Y-N-E-L-L.
So R-O-Y-N-E-L-L.
Young. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And we look forward to having you visit our conference as well.
I know. I'm supposed to be doing something tomorrow night, right?
Tomorrow night, yeah, you'll be doing the one of the pre-conference workshops. You'll be first. And
Okay.
then if you are available
If I am, yeah, I need to check you didn't tell me to check my calendar for that.
I didn't.
Because I was up to midnight, 12:30 last night working on some stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, stuff. It's always stuff. So keep talking. I know it might be time for you to exit, but keep talking about what you do and why you do it, and you can talk as long as you want.
Well, I apologize for my exit. We've been fortunate enough to HPD. We talked about the emerging relationships, has sponsored some tickets for our students to go to the Rockets game. So just bridging that gap between the community and the police department. So we're just trying to take advantage of those opportunities. When the community reaches out, we want to make sure we do our part.
Do y'all have a storefront in that area? In that area, close to the HPD storefront,
No, ma'am.
close to.
No,
I
ma'am.
know they used to have. Those
we have
community
what's right
locations.
next to us on Reed is the multipurpose center, and they're there. Occasionally.
Police are there?
Yes, ma'am.
Occasionally.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Doing certain events there, and they're not housed there, but we have our senior citizens of the Sunnyside area that do a lot of bingo and exercising there. So I do a lot of activities in that community as well.
Yeah, and I heard that Sunnyside Multi-Service Center just got renovated.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I haven't
really,
seen it.
Really
I
nice
haven't seen it
facility.
since it's been
really
renovated.
benefit to the community. Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to come. I
Nice
know
to
you got to
meet you.
take your kids. How
Yes,
many
ma'am.
do you take tonight?
We're taking 15.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yes, we're taking 15.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
All righty.
Yes.
Well, if you'd like to, you can unplug yourself and exit, but you can stay as long as you like.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach, and look forward to your program. That's all I got. Okay, so what else? So what else are you doing? Talk to me.
So basically,
Me and you.
just making sure again that we listen to what the kids want as well. When we went in,
So, what do kids usually want, Damien? I mean, you talk to kids all the time, or young adults. What do they want?
So when it comes to this particular topic, so one thing that I mentioned to them, our first meeting was with 4 girls that Coach had chose from the ages of 17 to 18. So 2 sophomores and 2 seniors. And one thing I expressed to them was that I can't tell you what safety is to you. So we actually had a conversation with what safety was to them. And they said things like walking home and making it home safe, that was safety to them. And they went through the process of saying that, well, my brother graduated and I used to walk home with my brother, and now I'm not able to walk home with my brother because he's no longer here. So they have to either find people to walk home with or somebody has to pick them up.
And what's the danger? I mean, what do people like? Steal from them, take their stuff, beat them up? I mean, what is the danger in walking home alone in these neighborhoods?
Let's get extreme. Again, that first meeting with Coach, he kind of expressed that some of the girls wear multiple layers of clothing. So if somebody tries to assault them, it'll take them longer to get to what they're after.
Wow.
And these are high school girls. So when Coach said that, again, I hear a lot, you hear a lot.
Wow.
I had never heard that.
Wow.
I had never heard that you have to get up in the morning, go to school, and put on multiple layers of pants and shirts. So if somebody's trying to assault you, it's going to take them longer. And the hope is that somebody will possibly hear your screams and come save you.
So you think that they snatching these girls just walking home to try to rape them?
They are.
What kind of monsters are living in these neighborhoods? I mean, what is happening?
It's I don't want to call this because it's saying that an underserved community means that
Don't
type
even
of
call
behavior,
it that. I'm just asking
yeah,
you what's going on by the school.
because of the area. I mean, it's one of the most violent, high crime areas in Houston. But if we've known probably the last 5 years, let's say 10 years, Sunnyside, South Park, that particular area has had one of the highest transmissions of STIs in the nation.
Wow.
At one point, the Sunnyside Multi-Service Center on record had the highest transmission of STIs in the nation. And that was like a 2 or 3 year run that they had. So we're seeing
Do they
that
get treatment at the multi-service center?
they get treatment at the multi-service center. So that's how the numbers go out, because you're right there. Now, but what does that mean though? That means that people are coming from other areas as well, getting treatment over there. Because I did talk to a nurse over there one time, and she said that we have men, and we're gonna say men, pull up in $70,000 BMWs. They're not gonna go to their doctor and get treatment because it'll get back to their wife.
Right.
So because of people transitioning to that area and taking care of their business and hiding it from their family, that drives the numbers up for Sunnyside, which is not fair. But it's something that people are going to report. So it seems like that particular area has the highest transmission of STIs in the nation.
Well, at least they're getting treatment. I
Yes.
mean, it's bad that they're hiding from their families, but at least they're getting the treatment. That's the way I look at it. It keeps us all safe.
Yes.
So
I'm married.
You're married, yeah, but I would just hope
happens.
a married man would get treated versus bringing it home to his wife.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Or keep spreading it, right? So at least they're getting treated. That's a positive. But I'm sad that kids can't walk home from school. I'm sad that the neighborhoods are so bad and there's so much mess going on that they can't do that. So they say safety walking home from school. Do you remember anything else the girls were scared of?
Safety, being safe at school, because there are incidences that happen at school. So you want to make sure that, and that's part of the reason that the coach and I had that conversation. We implement the program there. They want to make sure that they're safe at school, because what happens when they're in the community, and like I say, the girl whose 12-year-old cousin got murdered.
Tell me about that. I don't know about that.
So Fred was a 12-year-old boy that was murdered by an 18-year-old boy. It was all over the news.
I don't watch the news.
Okay, so it was all over, and so basically he was actually murdered by an 18-year-old. And there was a manhunt for him for like 2 or 3 days.
But what was the reason? Why would an 18-year-old be playing with a 12-year-old?
There was a lot of. It was rumored to be that he was basically unstable. The
Which one?
18-year-old was unstable, and that the 12
Mentally or family?
Both, because he was staying with another family. He wasn't staying with his family. And what happened with the 12-year-old who actually went to Provision, his family had moved away, and he stayed behind to stay with some friends. I don't know if it was to go to school or if he just didn't want to go with his people so he can stay there. So what happened was that the 18-year-old actually caught him for some reason and actually murdered him.
Like with a gun or
With a gun.
knife?
With a gun.
Just shot him.
Just shot him.
Was it caught on camera? How do they know
there's
who
no
did it?
cameras over there. No
How do they know who
photos.
did it?
Because they caught him, and the witnesses in the particular apartments had identified him, because I think that he also tried to assault his friend as well. So his other 12-year-old friend got away, and both of them were actually students at Provision Academy.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's just so easy for these kids to pick up guns and want to shoot people. That's the part I don't understand.
But one thing I can say too is that we can say that now, and again, going back to my past, I bought a gun for my mama at 15.
For her or from her?
For her.
Off the street?
Off the street. Contacted.
And
the
why'd
guy
you do that?
Because there was a guy that my mom was talking to that had already assaulted her one time, and she knew me at this time. At this age, I was, yeah.
You was bad already.
Yeah, he
was
didn't
taking
deserve
over,
to be around. So she actually stopped me one time from
hurting him.
going to do that.
Right.
And so her thought was, hey, and she knew I was in the street, like, right?
Right.
So she actually asked me, and my family don't even know this, but she actually asked me to purchase a gun for her. And and I didn't need the money. I had the money already, and I bought the gun and I gave it to him. Yeah, so
But you wanted to shoot him.
I was on my way one time, probably about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and
To shoot the man?
Yeah.
And
She
what
pulled
had
up.
he done to your mother?
That time he did something to me. I had a girlfriend. Do you remember? Well, you probably don't remember. But there was a movie theater called The Plit on West Belfort. It was a $1 movie.
Yeah, I do remember.
Remember
that.
The Plit? So me and her, we actually were coming back from The Plit, and I was selling drugs already. So I had I bought a cab, just capping in front of everybody.
A cab to
A
take you
cab to
around?
take us home, yeah. So there was a cab out there. I was like, here go the money. I paid for the cab. And all my guys, I was going back to West Airport, and all my guys was outside. So I told her, walk to my mama's house, because her mama had dropped off. I was like, walk to my mama's house. And as a gentleman, I should have walked to her.
Absolutely.
But my guys was outside. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We coming from the last movie. And when I got there, he was berating my girlfriend at the time.
The guy was?
Yeah, telling her that I had other girlfriends. He had my little black book, which I had. I saw
This
it on
was
TV.
inside your apartment?
Yeah.
wow.
And this was like 92
Why
or
would a
93.
grown man do that to a child?
Because I was terrorizing him too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was terrorized. I had messed his car up. Yeah, me and
Oh,
my
okay.
friend. So he did that. So my emotions sent me to my homeboy's house. I threw rocks at his one, and I said, well, get your brother. It was a Tech 9. I said, get your brother Tech 9. So he was 14. I've been knowing him since he was in 4th grade. He got the Tech 9. We were walking, and my mama must knew because she pulled up at the store right there on West Airport and Bob White, and was telling me to get in the car. And I ended up getting in the car, and her mother actually pulled up and was like, Damien, get in the car. And then my guy, I was 15, he was 14, he looked at me and said, what do you want to do? Like, he 14, he got the gun. I'm going to get it when we get there. I said, man, I'll see you tomorrow. Went home, and that was pretty much us breaking up at that time, till we broke up after that.
You and who?
Me and the girl, yeah.
Oh, because he busted you.
Yeah, it was just that we were too mature, or we were doing stuff, for our age that we shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
So that was, her mother stopped that. Well, our parents figured that it was best for us not to be around each other, because her mother saw that side of me, which she never saw. But my mother knew, I guess, who I was becoming at that particular time. And if I would have done that, I probably would have met you at this particular point in my life. Yeah, because that was my intentions, because I felt disrespect. And at 15, my disrespect came from what the streets taught me, not what my mother taught me or anybody else.
That's always been a powerful question on my mind. How can the streets have more influence on you than the mother who loves you, who's providing shelter, food, and love to you, but what other dudes are saying in the street is more powerful to your ego than love? Why is that?
It's not always dudes. It's what the street teaches you. You have to, once I started selling drugs, even before I started selling drugs, I watched, because I was the oldest. So I was born in San Antonio. I came from San Antonio to Houston, which was a culture shock in the 80s on West Belfort.
Right.
So that was a lot of South Park, Sunnyside, everybody moving to the Southwest side. So what I saw was different from San Antonio, because it wasn't moving that fast. So I came from San Antonio and got through in the fire. And I adjusted to that fire so fast, and I became a part of the fire. So before I even got heavy in the streets, I saw what we called respect and disrespect, and I had to take that on. I had to walk home by myself.
What school were you going to?
I was going to Anderson Elementary, then I went to Fondren Middle School. So I had to walk from West Belfort all the way to Braeswood to Fondren, and we walked in groups. But then when I started playing sports, a lot of people in my neighborhood didn't play sports. So to be honest, one thing that I always say, and let me make it clear, I was one of the only people that passed, it was 1 year, I was one of the only people from my neighborhood that actually passed. When I say passed, like passed to a grade. So all the guys that I grew up with, everybody failed. My mother didn't play about the grades and stuff, like doing your homework. But when I got outside, it was over. Like, she never knew what was going on until people would come and tell her certain things.
And the thing that's so crazy about you describing that area, Bob White and West Airport, was kind of like a cool area to live in back then, because I lived in that area back then. In fact, I used to live in some apartments right behind Bob White, and I think across the street, Bob White and Airport, and I think across the street was some townhouses called the cattails or something like that.
Yes, we stayed
But it
right
seemed
there.
like it didn't even seem like it was nothing rough going on over there at that time
Because
in the 80s. I'm talking like
Oh, that's the
84,
80s.
85.
Oh yeah, no, it hadn't hit.
I
it
thought
hadn't
you
hit
said the
that.
80s.
Yeah, so I got that in '88.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the thing was, it hadn't hit yet, and like I express to people all the time, you got the hood and you got the ghetto. People will go to the hood to have fun and get food.
What you calling the hood?
The hood is West Airport.
Okay.
That's hood. When you go into the ghettos people really don't want to go to the ghettos because why are you there for? The ghettos are where the high crime, the murders, and everything else that's happening, and it's the lifestyle. You may go to Sunnyside to get something to eat because you like going to Farmers Fresh, but at a certain time, most people are going to be out. When you go to the hoods, West Airport and everything else, there was so much going on, and we had a different environment because there were so many stores, everything that you wanted. So I call that the hood. And people can come out of hood and go other places. It's difficult a lot of times for people to come out of the ghetto because the ghetto is what I deem, because I've stayed in ghettos and hoods, what I deem as just the culture of like poverty and being deprived of hope a lot of times, because there's a family that stays in Coke apartments, and I don't want to say because people will know, but they've been in these particular apartments for 50 years.
Where's Coke apartment?
Fifth Ward.
Okay.
They've been in these particular apartments for 50 years. And their daughters have been over there for 20 in the same apartments. So we know that this was at one point deemed like super, super ghetto. And where do you want to go? Where can you go? Your dreams are gone. So for me, when I stayed in ghetto and I was a kid, you saw a lot of people that never dreamed. They came outside, they did what they did outside, they went back inside. This was going on every day. But when we stayed in the hood, Southwest side at this particular time, we were going to school still. But we were still selling drugs and we were still doing what we thought. And this was the 80s and 90s. We didn't really go off what we saw on TV. This was what we were learning. I think the kids today, they see what's going on TV, the rappers and a lot of stuff like we talking about the social media because we didn't have that. This was our life. A lot of kids that stay in privileged areas, they want to be a part of these particular areas. But they want to be a part of the hood because this is the fun they see. They really don't want to be a part of the poverty and losing your dreams in the ghetto. And when they go there, what ends up happening to them, that they hardly ever have the opportunity to come back and be themselves. And they'll stay there and they'll go down. And I'm not talking bad about these particular places, but it's an element. And it's not encompassing, but it's an element that happens in these particular areas.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information.
That's my experiences. Yeah, that's my experiences.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, you have a lot of experiences to share. That's why you do the violence interruption. So is the violence interruption y'all's main focus with this conference and with your work with these youth? Is that your main focus?
I would say being able to empower them is the focus. So the community violence interruption is a tool that we're using to be able to build leadership skills. But the focus is to make sure that they have an opportunity to experience life as they should. And meaning that we hope that the skills that we can be able to teach them, that they can possibly, I'm gonna say save somebody's life or keep them from violent incidents. What I express to them is that my desire is to put 2% of all the good that's in me, what Vivian gave me, what a Tommy Dorsett gave me, what other people have given me, to put 2% of them, 2% of me in them for the rest of their life. And I've told them, you're gonna be in London, you're gonna be in Africa, you're gonna be on Southwest Side, you're gonna be downtown, you'll be in San Francisco. And when I start saying that, they start shaking their head like, yeah, I'm gonna be somewhere else. I say, but if we can put the good in us that's in you, then what's gonna happen, you're gonna be able to put the good in you in other people as well. So that was something I came up with out the blue, but it's like serious because all the information that you've given me over the time, the four years that we've been around each other, you've given me a lot of good information. Somebody gave you a lot of good information and you passed that down to me. It's only right if I pass down not only what you gave me, but what the other positive people in my life have given me. So the community violence intervention curriculum and stuff that we're working on is a tool to be able to impart to the youth at the school and in the area in the communities to be able to give them skills to be able to figure things out better. That's kind
So
of
do
one of the
you
better
think
ways.
that they're mature enough to appreciate the consequences of gun violence?
A lot of times, no, because it's
Yeah,
so
and
common.
how do you make them appreciate it? Like I said, my unscientific poll has been they appreciate it when somebody they love dies, when they're old enough to appreciate what that person stood for. Sometimes at 12 or 15, you still don't really understand how good this grandmother or how good this mother is who's working hard and raising you because they're not really spending enough time with you. You don't really appreciate it. But if you're 30, you got more years that they've been there for you when they start learning that people at 16 and 17 and 20 and 22 that they think well all that turn their backs on them, then they see this one constant or these these certain people that are constants in their lives. That's when they seem to really appreciate the consequences. It's been one of my struggles in mysteries in trying to understand how do you make young people like the kind that'll go shoot up a whole school. Why don't they? I mean, how do you make that level of brain cells understand the consequences?
So my approach, you said two things. So we'll talk about time and consequences. Time is that you have to be there. If coach says, Damien, we want you to come to the school. I wasn't born and raised in Sunnyside.
Right.
I've served over there. And it just happened to be this particular area, right? It could be anywhere. If I don't stay consistent, man, I shouldn't be in the mix. I shouldn't be
Right.
doing the work. I would want to say a bad word right now. Sit me down somewhere.
Right.
Anybody, if you go to an area that people often go to when they get grant money and they'll go over there and spend time and get all their data and leave, they shouldn't be there. The community should not allow them to be there. If I don't do my part that I say I'm going to do with the kids, the provision, the community should say, we're not allowing him over here, right? Because you have to be consistent. And that's the goal. If we're not consistent, I told Coach this because we had some kids that wasn't actively participating. And I said, Coach, we have to do the long-term thing. And if we don't do the long-term thing, I don't expect to win on the first day, maybe not even the first week.
Hold that thought. I'm getting a note that there's a call holding. So, caller, you're on.
Yes, thank you for having me, Ms. Vivian King, and also Damien. So as a resident of Sunnyside, as well as a parent of one of the young people who attends Worthing, what should I be working on as a parent that's also working in tandem with the work that you're doing with CVI?
All right, Damon, answer that.
Thank you for calling in. I would say what you should be doing is being involved, understanding what's going on at Worthing, because there are a lot of programs that the principal has allowed to come to Worthing. But also make sure that you come in with the ability to understand what your child is facing, because that's in your household, that's your family. And because that's who's in your family, that should be one of the first things that you look forward to be able to have a conversation with them. After you have the conversation with them, I think today's kids are very knowledgeable because of the information that they have. You should ask your child, what do you think that I can do? How can I come along and be a participant not only at Worthing, but in the community? And we understand that parents and guardians do a lot, especially in that particular area. So just make sure that first you kind of talk to your kid, because your kid actually knows what's going on outside those doors at the school. Walking home, they gather a lot of information. And after you talk to them, I would say go to the school and ask the school, man, how can I help? This is the time frame that I have. What can I do? And once you find out what you can do, stick to that. Use what your skill set is in a group that's already going on at Worthing or a community group. We don't want to make it intricate. You start simple and you do what you can with what you have. And I commend you for asking that question.
And I'd like to add that one of the important points that Damien brought out tonight was safety. Make sure your kids feel safe, and make sure your kids are not the bully, too. I mean, because, some kids are bullies. Sometimes there's a fine line between not being a punk about it, and then being the bully about it. But somehow you got to keep safe, and they got to know what to do in certain situations. Like if somebody comes out and does this to me, they got to have kind of a plan B to me. Kids kind of got to have a way out of things. But the best thing to do is talk to your kid and ask them, do they feel safe, and what do they need from you right now?
I agree.
But thanks for calling.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
I want to get to the consequences. One thing, because there was
We have 3 minutes.
okay, there was a fight at Provision and Sterling.
Against Sterling and Provision people, or two
No, it
separate
was
fights?
two separate fights, and Coach had told me about it. So it was the girls and the boys. It was two, and I don't remember who was where, at what
Right.
school. And Coach said, so when I talked to the boys, I told them that y'all don't fight that much because when y'all fight, y'all know how far y'all have to take it. The boys understand consequences a lot of times better than the girls. The boys will know that, hey, we got beef, but when they start to engage with each other, they're gonna, and men, so boys and men know that they'll take it all the way and they'll take it further because they understand consequences. So we're saying that they don't understand consequences. They know that there's death. They know that they can get their head knocked off. So, but the girls, they'll fight a lot of times not understanding that these consequences are long term. Men.
So we have a
innately
phone call.
understand that.
We have one more
Okay.
phone call waiting. Caller, you on?
And I'm so sorry, guys. It's actually the same call. I just another question. So, and I heard you guys represent a conference that was happening January 15th. And one of the things I heard you guys talk about was the social media aspect of it.
Yeah.
What part about social media will you guys be covering? As you know, that social media right now is heavily influencing our young people. So what part will you be covering at the conference?
Thank you again for that question. One thing that we'll be covering is how social media violence starts, and we're going to work all the way to real life consequences. So meaning that there have been individuals that have got on there and bullied, got on there and continued the beef that was already over with. So we're going to talk about the inception, and also we want to make sure that the kids and the parents know that people are watching their social media.
Right.
It's kids, the DA's office, the police. So if crimes are going on and they're talking about this, you can have a kid that's actually a very, very good kid, but they get caught up in some nonsense because they want to feel like they're part of the crowd. So we're going to start out about the inception of social media violence all the way to real life consequences. So we're going to try to cover as much as possible.
And parents these days, you have to be a part of your kids' social media. You can't let them have private social media. You have to know what they're saying, what they're doing. And just like you said, the DA's office, if there's a murder or a fight or anything having to do with young people now, all cases, they always get to those phones, and they always, those phones say everything, because people put everything on social media. So they need to understand that whatever they put out there, the police, everybody got it. And so, keep that in mind. Tell your children that too. But I mean, anything you put on there, you have to be willing for your parents to see it, the police to see it. And I'm talking like sex pictures, I'm talking everything. But we're getting the note to wrap up, but we sure appreciate you calling in, caller. We appreciate those who are watching, and hopefully you will participate in the conference. We're saying wrap up, say something right quick about your conference, Damien, January 15th.
January 15th at Provision Academy. You can go to Cognitive Justice International, INTL.org. Go under the events page and you'll be able to register. Please register for the conference.
All right. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I hope we've enlightened you tonight, and we appreciate bringing true crime stories to you to educate you about the things going on in our community. Thank you and good night. Thank you for tuning in again tonight. We have something